There was something so eerie about that, where the Death Star off in space in the horizon. It's like it looks like a moon that's looking at him, and it's like his fate is right in front of him. And they shot it. Greg Fraser did an over-the-shoulder shot with it, so it made it look like two characters are facing off, but one of the characters is the Death Star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll never forget that shot. That really stuck with me.
Legends of the Fall.
I missed this one.
It's an old movie. It's an old movie.
Not
but
an old movie. Josh's sense of time is wrong.
It's
he
2000s.
says,
90s.
You guys watch these old movies. It's like a movie from the late 90s or early 2000s.
If it's in the 90s, it's old. That's over
it's not.
25 years ago.
Welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Wiseworks podcast, everybody. We're so glad that you've chosen to join us here on a Friday or on a Monday if you're a patron.
Yeah.
All you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs, you know? That's why we're here doing this, is so that people can enjoy a little time during their day to start or midday for to just catch up on some new things going on in the world of entertainment and movies. And hang out with three of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
I was trying.
No.
I was trying to come up with something interesting, but my mind blanked.
I think overall it seems like you have a really interesting podcast. Could you give us a quick synopsis just so everyone knows what we're covering today, roughly?
So we're going to talk a little bit about upcoming sci-fi. What does the future look like for sci-fi, and how is that going to define, what sci-fi is moving forward? I mean, because we kind of know what it's looked like in the past 15 years.
Right. Spoiler alert, it's all AI.
I don't think you're wrong. And then we're going to be talking about an interesting subject in the YouTube space and in the video game space that I think is really kind of really interesting and worth talking about. And then we're gonna and then we're gonna touch on that new Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial documentary.
And
then if we have time for a little game at the end.
Good. I love games. I love games.
A little improv game.
Before we get into this, we ended last podcast with me telling Wyatt, because he didn't see my video, about the delays for Dune. And obviously it comes out, I think we record literally about 6 days before it comes out publicly, just a couple days before it comes out on Patreon. And so I wanted to share this article because it looks like we got some confirmation on that front, if that's cool. Are you guys good to look at this for a second?
Yeah.
All right. So check this out. So Dune Part 2 delayed to 2024 amid strikes. So it's confirmed March 15th is the new release date for Dune Part 2.
At least they're not pushing it to like November next year, where we'd have to wait a whole year.
Why March 15th, you think?
I think it's just that's like that's like when Mario came out, so it seems like it's a decent time for movies to come out. Probably February and January is less of an interesting time.
Yeah, it's like March, April, May, and then July.
The summer blockbusters with June and July.
Yeah. So, and then they kind of wait and do like November, December as the bigger movies at the end. And I'm assuming there's probably something else slated for next year around like November, December, a big movie. So they don't want to, they don't want to overlap, because I know it's always a controversial thing, or not, I don't know, controversial, or like a thing where two movies get put on the same weekend, and it's like, what are we going to
Mhm.
go see? What are we going to go see?
I think it's an arbitrary date. I think they're pushing it back because they need to push it back, and that's kind of when that's I think about as far as they can push it back to be
Mm.
reasonably like, yeah, hopefully things will be kind of wrapped up around then.
We're really hoping.
So,
Hopefully.
yeah, I
Honestly,
don't know.
I think these studios are just panicking. I think they're like,
Mhm.
we can't. Okay, let's ask this, because this is an actually good question that we may not know the answer to, and we may
Well,
not have
I'll be
enough
the
facts
judge
to know
of
the answer
that.
to. Listen, Oppenheimer and Barbie, and in some sense, Mission Impossible, and these movies did really well
Hmm.
in the thick of the strike. Okay,
Sound of Freedom as well.
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
So the question is, is that an anomaly situation, or is it important that the actors are a part of the promotion
Well,
for these movies?
the the movie, the promotion had already come out for those movies.
How did you see a lot of
Promotion,
stuff with like Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie
yeah,
for
yeah, oh
Barbie?
yeah, yeah. There
I
was
didn't
tons of
see a
stuff.
lot. I think I saw one
There were
thing.
there were a bunch of interviews, and red carpets and everything.
Mhm.
So I think all of the stuff for that had already come out by the time the movies dropped. So
Okay.
no skin off their backs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They could get their movies out, make a ton of money, and then be like, all right, we're going on strike.
Mhm.
Right.
So
And it's kind of crazy. I think was this true that Warner Brothers, am I wrong at this? Didn't it hasn't Barbie become the highest grossing Warner Brothers film of all time?
yeah, I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
Which is nuts.
That is crazy.
Barbie is going into the future, the golden child for Warner Bros.
Mhm.
It
And
is
it's
the movie now.
it's
Or the pink child, I
well,
should say.
it's a fluke in my opinion.
It
What do you mean
I
by
Um,
that?
it's just it hit all of the notes that it needed to hit, and and then based on um reviews and stuff, it's just kind of
Mid?
a mid movie. It's
I
nothing like
hope
Mhm.
super special.
I already know this is gonna happen, but I hope it doesn't, but it's for sure going to happen. Greta Gerwig is going to be skyrocketed with we're gonna see a ton of movies that she's gonna
Yeah.
be directing in the future based because of
Yeah.
her movie just happened to work
Well,
out.
she's
She was
already
the
getting
director.
roles. She's already getting directing positions before this movie was a success, right?
Yeah, but like
Before. Now,
let
very
let's
much
just
so.
let's look at her, track record in the next coming years. I'm guaranteed it's going to be like didn't do a lot, skyrocket, and then it's going to be like, whoo, it's going to come back down and
Yeah.
just be
Yeah,
like
because they're
nothing.
gonna
Her,
realize that it's not Greta Gerwig that makes or breaks a
no,
movie. It's
Mhm.
freaking the fact that they made a Barbie movie and that all these
Yeah,
women are
it's the
obsessed with
name, it's the
Barbie.
brand Barbie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's the marketing, which is
Ryan
Barbie.
Gosling,
It's Ryan Gosling and what's her face?
Margot Robbie?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie.
Less
So,
Margot Robbie, more Ryan Gosling, honestly.
I
yeah,
know. I don't.
but
I don't.
I
Well,
don't know. Margot Robbie's very much kind of Barbie. And
Sure, but
so yeah,
people
and then also it's it's women. If you can get the women to be passionate about about a movie,
hmm
they will make that movie successful.
yeah.
They
Now,
will.
the biggest
Titanic, The
success.
Notebook, they
Yeah.
will make it successful. Because women don't get as many movies as men. Yeah,
no.
chick flicks, whatever. But you know, big movies that are
Right.
made for women, they don't get as many of those.
By
So
women is the big
yeah, for women
women.
by women, they don't get many, and so all of the stars aligned to make this movie
The greatest
just
success?
yeah, just an incredible success. And I'm not saying that it doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying that I don't think that you're going to get this kind of result again.
No. This is literally once in a
Now,
career unless you're
no, not necessarily.
James Cameron.
Okay, yes. So if you're someone like James Cameron, Steven Spielberg, they are known, or even like Quentin Tarantino, they're known for making films, and we love their films, so we
Greta
go
Gerwig
out.
is not Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, she's not, is what I'm saying. So she can't make like an ET and then come back and make a Jurassic Park and it be like just a success. It's not going to happen. So
I mean, she's made some successful movies. What did she make?
Medium.
Lady Bird.
That wasn't. I wouldn't consider that a successful movie. Like,
Did she did that Pride and Prejudice one?
no, it was Little Women.
Little Women.
Yeah,
And
but nobody's talking
none
about
of
it.
these are big movies like that really popped off. None of them are.
We're
It's
still
only
making
Barbie.
movies for
So-
Jurassic Park. We're not making. I mean, I guess we are making Little Women movies because of the
Okay.
book, not because of her movie though.
So
yeah,
check this out.
that's the reason it has a legacy is because of the book.
Okay, so check this out. Do you think 2 questions? Number 1, do you think that because she's going to be so popular and in such high demand that she will say, I don't really want to actually do Narnia. I want to do this high paying job that this other
She-
studio's offering me, you know?
Probably
And
already
and she
contracted for
maybe
it.
okay.
She
She
might
could
not be
break
able to get out of it.
contract. We've seen people do that before.
All right, second question. If she does go ahead and make Narnia, do you think that is going to be it's like instant success Barbie and then she makes Narnia and that's going to be the thing that plummets her? Because obviously if she makes Narnia and Netflix does Narnia,
It's
we
not gonna be
pretty much
great.
can guarantee it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Guarantee.
Yeah, but I don't know that will be enough to tank her reputation because it'll be a lot of more of the conservative crowd that's upset with her, and so Hollywood won't see that as an issue.
No,
They'll be like,
why-
"Well, we'll give her more
Look
stuff."
at Dan and David from Game of Thrones.
That's Game of Thrones.
But this is Narnia.
No. Just look at Sound of Freedom. You can't discredit the conservative.
No. I'm not. Absolutely,
we got a
not.
strong crowd here.
But I don't think that Hollywood won't care about that. They will just give her something else. It won't be. I think it'll take a couple of things to really kind of tank her reputation.
Wow.
If she fails at those things, which not saying she is going to, I just don't think that there's going to be continued success like the Barbie movie.
No, there
I don't
won't
think
be.
so.
There's no way that she could just make banger after banger movie and get the numbers and make all the money that she has because of the Barbie.
Well, listen, when it comes down to it, I don't think she made a banger with Barbie. Financially,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
and
like
reputationally.
We're going
made
based fully
lot
on
of
financials.
financial.
I don't think the Barbie movie's a banger. I think it's just kind of a mid. I don't even know what it falls in. Is it a
A
rom-com?
mid movie made by mid women.
Do you know how
Mid-movie.
different it would be right now if we still had Amy Schumer going to be playing Barbie?
Yikes.
Why do you keep bringing this up?
Because it was something that was going to happen. She was going to be Barbie, and she would not play a good Barbie.
Sure, but I mean, a mid movie for a mid actor. You know what I mean? It would have been what it was. I mean, I don't think. Look, just because Margot Robbie's playing Barbie doesn't necessarily mean like it's a better movie because of it.
No, but the combination of Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and it is a well-known fact that Ryan Gosling did it because Margot Robbie was Barbie, and he would have never done it probably if it was Amy Schumer. It would have been somebody else, and so it's a well-known fact.
It wouldn't have seen the kind of success that it saw.
I mean, you can't deny that when we first heard Ryan Gosling was going to be playing Ken, we're like, okay, this would
That
definitely
tracks.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a good move. I think that might have been the move.
The saving grace of this film.
Not the saving grace. I mean, just the move that's turned it into what it is. I think casting Ryan Gosling as Ken might have been the move. I think it might be on par with casting Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. You know what I mean? It's like it's
Yeah.
the thing that makes it a success. And I'm not trying to say that a man makes the woman movie a success, but in some ways, if it didn't have
It
Ryan
did.
Gosling,
It did.
if it didn't have
What
Ryan Gosling,
It did.
would it be
Helped.
just as
You
popular?
got the women, but you also got the men with Ryan
what
Gosling. With
okay,
the
Well, you got the
both
women
true.
also with Ryan Gosling.
we
Exactly.
keep Margot Robbie, but who else would you put in as Ken if it wasn't Ryan?
Chris Hemsworth
No,
could have
No,
I
been
wouldn't
him.
have. I wouldn't have picked Hemsworth.
I mean, I
that's
feel like
tough.
Zac Efron at one point would have played like a Ken.
At one point, yeah.
At one point would have played like a Ken.
Oh boy.
Or if we were going comic, we would definitely put like Adam Devine. Is that right?
Adam Devine.
Yeah, if it was Adam Devine and Amy Schumer, oh my gosh, I don't think anybody would have gone to theaters to see it.
No, wouldn't have.
Uh,
They wouldn't have gone at all.
I think the memes probably would have still been there if Adam
Yeah.
Devine was Ken. What's the guy from MacGyver? The new MacGyver.
Oh, yeah, that's a deep cut. I don't know. Let me look.
Yeah, but he's not like a
I feel like
well-known actor.
No, but he's handsome and attractive and has that kind of Ken build. I'd have gone with him, and he's got blonde
MacGyver.
hair.
Till Lucas.
Yeah, I'd have gone. I think he could have done it.
This is such a deep cut. Nobody even knows who he is.
Yeah.
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
He's been in a bunch, but it's like he's not still.
Nobody
not
knows
like,
who he is.
This
movie would not have been a success if they put him as Ken.
No, I'm saying he said who else could have played Ken. I think he could have played Ken because I think he's got the right look. Chris Hemsworth
Speaking
doesn't
of
have the right look.
that actor, though,
are you kidding? Chris Hemsworth could be a Ken a million times more than this and make the movie mildly
he's too
successful.
Too big.
No,
he
too
he
big.
could do
Ken,
it.
The Ken doll is not that big.
He's not. But
Ken has to be a muscular but thin build.
But he also, for like roles, Heart of the Sea, he got pretty skinny for that. He lost a bunch of weight and kind of got rid of some muscle to where he could do that.
I don't think this guy
He's
would
an
not
older.
Yeah, but it's been a long time since Heart of the Sea. He's not the same size as he was in Heart of the Sea. He could have played Ken. Look how sexy he is. Look how cute he is. I would have cast him as Ken.
Why? The movie was built on making sure you have recognizable star faces.
But you didn't.
This would be the worst choice ever.
You didn't say who. You didn't say what big.
I didn't ask the question. Joshua
multi-famous star would you
Joshua
have
asked
picked
the question.
to play Ken? Regardless, that's the question that was asked was
who could play Ken?
Who could play Ken? You didn't say who's
with
like the biggest actor right now.
With the implication of keeping it a success.
Keeping it a success. I don't know.
So Till,
I wouldn't have not Chris
have
Hemsworth.
At one point, he would have to be a lot younger than he is now. But I could stick like Brad Pitt in there. He would have to be a lot younger.
He would have had to be a lot younger. Legends
Brad
of the
Pitt
Fall
could have
younger.
I mean, is Brad Pitt that much older than Ryan Gosling?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Brad Pitt's probably in his 60s.
All right, let's see.
Or late 50s. He's got to be. It's funny. We just watched. I watched 59. For the first time. 59. Brad I told you he was about late 50s, early 60s. We watched Legends of the Fall.
42.
A young Brad Pitt, where he kind of plays this. I don't know. I don't want to say Native American because he's not a Native American in the movie, but he plays a Native American type. I guess is what you want to say. He's a white guy that
yeah,
grew
he
up
grew
with
up
Native
on the
American.
frontier. Yeah, he grew
He
up on the frontier, and so he's just kind of like a wayward,
yeah, he's got
problem
long
child.
hair. He's got long hair, and there's a scene where his brother dies, and he like takes his brother's heart, paints his face, and then takes a knife out and goes to a battle and just starts like scalping people. And
Mm.
it's a crazy scene.
Wait, who played
It's
in this movie?
Brad Pitt.
Brad
He's
Pitt, Anthony
he's playing
Hopkins,
What is this movie called?
Legends of the
Legends of the
Fall.
Fall.
I missed this one.
It's
It's
a
an
good
old
movie.
movie. It's an old movie,
Not
but
an old movie. Josh's
it
sense of
is.
time is wrong.
It's
You, he says,
2000. I mean,
you
90s.
guys watch these old movies. It's like a movie
Okay.
from the late 90s or early 2000s. These
If it's in the 90s, if it's in the 90s, it's old. That's
movies.
over
No, it's not. That's
25
like,
years ago.
yeah, it was a prime time for movies. They're not old. Are you old?
It's
No, you're
if it's older
25,
than
26.
me, then it's an old movie.
Nah.
No, The Patriot
I would
by
say
Mel
movies
Gibson
back in like,
is 90s.
I would say, a movie back in like, the 80s is an old movie. Or the
Freaking
70s is an old movie, but like
Braveheart.
Braveheart and Legends of the Fall and all of these other, those aren't old
The Last
movies.
Samurai.
Not yet. Maybe
Not
in
yet.
10, 15 years.
Look, before we shift, speaking of movies that are violent, because I do want to get to the topics because I feel like we're going to be on it for a while.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I also wanted to mention this. I went ahead and watched Timothy Chalamet's Bones and All
Oh no.
the other
Ew.
day.
Is that really violent?
I would not recommend the movie.
Okay.
Not even necessarily because of the violence. It's
What
just weird, dude. It's
what
the
did
weirdest. It's the weirdest. It might be one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. It's not good.
what did Kenzie think? Because I know she's
She hated it.
she's a hardcore
She hated
Timothy
it.
fan. Well, it's not your typical Timothy film, probably.
No, she hated it. She actually, at the end of the movie, she was like, Timothy, it seemed like he was trying his best to act in this role, but the writing was just so dumb and weird. Like, he was just making the best of it. And I was like, well, he did agree to be in this movie. And
Mhm.
she was
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Just seemed like not a movie for him.
Wasn't it nominated
Everybody
for
gets
an
those.
award last year?
Yes, I don't know why. It was the weirdest movie. Don't watch Bones and All. Don't watch it because it's free on Amazon Prime right now. I think Prime. Yeah, that's what we have. So
What's
what?
the first topic?
So, the first topic is upcoming sci-fi and how is this going to kind of define the future? Because we've seen what has defined sci-fi in the past.
Mhm.
Right.
Obviously, Star Wars and Star Trek defined what sci-fi was from, the late 70s, early 80s, all the way, I would say, to the 2000s.
Yeah,
Then Matrix came out.
and that
And
defined it.
dude, the Matrix kind of redefined it of what we could do with animation and slow motion and interesting kind of high concept ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say for the next 10 years, 15 years, everything was kind of matrixy.
Right.
I
right.
have to throw a little bone in here, though. You have defining sci-fi in the next generation, but you put Dune up here, where Dune, yes, they are making new movies, and I would say the movies are setting this prerequisite for new sci-fi stuff or fantasy, but Dune is an old book, so I wouldn't say Dune.
So
you can't include Dune in upcoming
I
fantasy.
absolutely can, because
But Dune has been around forever.
Dune, the book defined what sci-fi looked like for Star Wars, and for other books of its nature. It also came out. The original movie came out around Star Wars and was a genre-defining look.
Mhm.
And then the Dune that has come out recently and the Dune that will come out in the future are new visual takes on what sci-fi can look like.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, they are helping to redefine how sci-fi looks. Not necessarily the story. We know the story, but the way sci-fi is filmed, the way
Yep.
that it can impact people visually, with large scale or even small scale, because the small scale stuff in this movie is really good.
Mhm.
Um, I think, and we're seeing this a lot. We saw from the creator trailers, from the Dune trailers, from Rebel Moon. Sci-fi these days is they're trying to make it as large scale as possible,
Yeah.
Mhm.
for that epic kind of almost harkening back to some of the Star Wars stuff of, when we see the Death Star come out
Right.
from behind a planet, it's like we want this stuff that is so big and epic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
so
Um,
uh,
I so to kind of dive into this, I made a comment on the beginning where you were introducing this. I was like, spoiler alert, it's all AI.
mhm,
It does feel very AI heavy right now
it's
with
going to be,
like
yeah.
things like ChatGPT. I think that's pushing a AI narrative.
Mhm,
Like I think at one point we had a time travel narrative, and there was, I guess, like this early 2000s, maybe 2010 uh time where we had some time travel stuff. But
yeah.
Mhm.
2010s
I
were big
think
with time
there's a
travel.
lot of AI that's going to be coming up at least in the next, I think, 3 years. I'm going to give it 3 to 5 years. We're going to see a lot. I would say like 70% is going to be AI.
Right.
Well, I would say all three of these stories from what we're seeing are they don't get into it in the first Dune movie. I'm hoping maybe they mention it a little bit in the second. AI is a big thing in Dune,
Mhm.
for why the world is the way it is, why there are mentats and Bene Gesserit and things like that, is because they had a big war with AI, with thinking
Mhm.
machines. That's why a lot of their ships are less computer, more analog,
Mhm.
um, and stuff like that. And we're seeing from Rebel Moon and from the creator, there's some pretty heavy like robotics
Yeah.
stuff, especially the creator.
Right. I found this article. Gareth Edwards is kind of talking about how he got inspired for the creator, promoting Rogue One. Let me share this. So, uh, his approach, uh, basically, so new approach to sci-fi movies. I think when it comes down to it, I think it's just a lot of fresh ideas. So, like this paragraph basically summarizes he was going to his girlfriend's family's. I think it was out in Iowa, and
Mhm.
he basically just saw this field, this grassy field with this strange building in front of it, and in the middle of it, and then he imagined robots out there working the fields, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think and I think you're right. I think there's elements to this new look. So, what you were saying earlier about how there's a there's a specific way that it has looked, and now there's like the new approach to it. I think it's just it's these new creative thoughts and these inspired directors and creators. So if you look at
I would
what you've pulled up here, creator Dune and Rebel Moon, we're talking about Gareth Edwards, Denis Villeneuve, and Zack Schneider.
Mhm.
All three
Mhm.
of these guys have a very unique approach to sci-fi and get inspiration in different ways. Rebel Moon was meant to be a Star Wars story, but they weren't going to hire him for that. And so if he can't make a Star Wars story, then he creates this new look for this world, and he
Yeah.
does it in a very Schneider style.
And
There
I would say that Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was just gonna kind of cut in and say there's a lot of sci-fi fantasy out there that has missed the the limelight of that could have been good, but just quite didn't. It didn't tickle
Mm-hmm.
everybody's fancy, or it didn't quite make it. So I feel like there is a lot that we have missed, and I know we talk about this quite often, and I I've mentioned a couple things where I was like, I like the concept, but it didn't quite work. So that kind of plays into how what's going to be popular in this coming forward.
Yeah, how do we execute the
Mhm.
concept correctly?
Yeah.
I 100% am on board with that idea. Because you're right. I've seen tons of things where I love the concept. I think it's so
Jupiter's
good. It's so
Ascending.
fun.
Jupiter's
Yeah,
Ascending was something that like I watched and I was like, I want this to be good, but it's just it's a good
yeah.
concept, but it
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 missed
just
the
doesn't quite
mark.
work. Do you remember that movie, Joseph? I know
Yeah.
we watched it at least once.
It's
You
been
watched
a
it.
while. It's been a
Yeah.
long time, but what's the main idea for Jupiter Ascending? Just to remind me.
So there's like the royal family
Is that
they
with Channing
are
Tatum?
yes, Channing
Okay.
Yes.
Tatum
Mila
and
Kunis.
Mila Kunis. Yes, they are
Kunis.
harvesting
Kunis.
planets to basically make themselves live for forever. Because when they harvest the
Right.
planet, they can use humans to basically let them live longer. And
Hmm.
so they are trying to harvest Earth to create um, long lasting juice, I guess, to say
Long
it
lasting
lightly.
juice.
Yeah, and
Yeah. It.
it just didn't quite work.
Right.
And yeah, it was so for a while it was the movies were kind of doing this. They were trying to do kind of a Dune like things, and it just the 2010s, early 2010s to mid 2010s, I would say was not doing super great for those types. There's a couple that land okay. I think and this may have been before 2010s. Looper I think was executed very well.
Looper was
Um,
Yeah,
awesome.
that is in this genre, but it also feels very different with its
mhm.
how they did that film. It felt very different than like
Yeah,
a
and
Man, Looper
but
was good.
going back kind of to what you said about the robots in the field and the large sort of look that harkens back to lots of old sci-fi art
mhm.
where
Mhm.
um and there's lots of old sci-fi art where it's a large scale something or another,
Yeah.
and there's robots and they're doing human tasks, harvesting wheat or um, playing baseball or something, stuff like that. It's
Right.
like it's this interesting kind of fun motif that um, people were playing around with way back. I'm talking like you know back in like the 50s and 60s, and you can
Mhm.
see it from like Ralph McQuarrie, his art for Star Wars. Go
Uh-huh.
look at some of the Ralph McQuarrie art, and you'll see that kind of epic scale and small scale sci-fi robot feel.
Yeah,
Right.
The
pull
guy
pull
the
some of that
guy
up.
who the guy who wrote John Mark showed us a trailer for it. What was it called? The robot thing. I forget what it's called, but it
Oh, is this
was
it, Wyatt?
yeah. That's that kind of old Ralph McQuarrie art style.
Okay.
Yeah, like some of this kind of feels, I mean, this is Game of Thrones.
Go up. Why is his name so weird? Ralph. It's like Mac Quarry, MAC, and then I think
Not
it's
this.
QUARR.
Is that not
No,
correct?
No.
no, that's not it.
MAC?
MACQURR something.
Why? Let's see if it figures it out.
Yeah, that should be closer to it.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so yeah, so this is
So yeah,
closer to
like
what we're looking
his
at.
images like
Okay,
Cloud City and the spaceships and the robots
that's
and
cool.
everything. It was just it's part of what made Star Wars look so iconic was
Is
that
Right.
they
this is a little history that I don't know, don't want to go from your topic, but is he the one who made like the posters for Star Wars are very like animated,
yeah, I think so.
drawn. Is he the one who did that?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I, I
Um
I never knew that. I was just curious.
this is but again, this is what defined like that one especially is super iconic. This is what defined the look for Star Wars and therefore defined the look for
Mm,
sci-fi
Yeah.
and what could be possible was making these pictures that people had seen for a long time. This high concept stuff had been around for a long time.
Right.
Um and then Star Wars made it a reality.
Mhm.
So I almost hope that the new trend is to uh visually make this stuff, this large scale stuff look like you could take a snapshot of it and make those
mhm.
old pictures from it. I
Yeah.
I
think that
think we're
should
gonna
be the
see
goal.
that. I mean, in some ways, he doesn't do this across the board like always, but I think Zack Schneider has part of that in his mind.
Mhm.
That's why I was getting some serious 300 vibes from the Rebel Moon
Yeah.
trailer. It
Make
almost
it
more
look
than anything he's
iconic.
done since, right? And
Mhm.
I heard a couple people watching the trailer and they were like, "Oh, this just looks bad. The animation looks bad." It's like it does look not real, but it
Mhm.
looks like Zack Schneider. It looks
Yeah.
like that 300 vibe where it's like the colors are just wonky. I mean, literally the king of Persia, I think it was in
Prince of
300.
Persia.
Mhm.
No, not the prince of Persia. The like
Oh,
the king.
yeah, Xerxes.
Yeah, he in 300, that's like a real actor, but in some ways,
Mhm.
when you look at it, the way the animation style was, the environment that they placed him in, it's all unnatural, and so it almost makes him feel like he's an animated person. It's
Well,
like it's like there's
he looks like a god almost.
yeah, yeah, and he was a lot larger, and so there's a specific style that he has that, in some ways, maybe visually, a lot of people it doesn't, or on video, it doesn't resonate with a lot of people. It doesn't feel probably like the creator does. That's organic and real, like that Greg Fraser style.
Mhm.
But in a lot of ways, Rebel Moon has its own take on it. It has its own
And
unique look that
even
you're
if we
saying a
went
screenshot is a piece of art.
even if we went back to Rogue One, that's what I wanted all of the Star Wars movies
To
to
be.
look like.
Mhm.
Not to be like necessarily, but to look like. That's what I wanted from every Star Wars. Everything was, it took, the prequels tried to do some of that large scale stuff and it
Yeah.
didn't quite work.
Mhm.
But it was like Rogue One perfected that sort of big uh just big space sci-fi look, and I wanted all of like the Star Wars movies coming out around that time to look
Look,
like that.
Rogue One has forever imprinted on me this one specific shot where the dude who plays the antagonist in Rogue One, I can't remember his name.
Mhm.
He's the guy with the lisp.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, we know.
the Death Star is up in space and he's on the edge of this high tower or whatever, and the Death Star like comes over the horizon, almost looks like it's looking straight at him
Yeah.
before it's about to shoot the laser and blow up the whole planet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there was something so eerie about that, where the Death Star off in space in the horizon, past the atmosphere, is it's like it looks like a moon that's looking at him, and it's like his fate is right in front of him. And
Mm.
they
Mhm.
shot it. Greg Fraser did an over the shoulder shot with it, so it made it look like two characters are facing off, but one of the characters is the Death Star. You know what I mean? I'll
Yeah.
never forget that shot. That really stuck with me. because I hadn't seen that before. It was really cool. Yeah, Rogue One. The look of it's wonderful. The vibe and the look of the universe is unlike anything we've seen in Star Wars. So yeah, I agree, and I think the creator's going to feel that way. And Denis Villeneuve has his own unique look to things,
Oh
bringing the
yeah,
Dune universe to
the
life.
Dune feels very big and very, you know,
Stylized, unique,
yes,
unique from planet to planet, unique from family
Mhm.
to family. It's gonna be fun. But dang it, I really wish we didn't have to wait till March to see Dune.
yeah.
Yeah,
This
that's
date is
unfortunate.
wrong.
At least we probably should be getting the creator soon.
Would you say we have a new Dune date?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have just March
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 17th.
15th.
Oh, 15th. I thought it was 17th.
I said that earlier, remember?
I said Dune date.
Dune date?
Dune date.
I didn't say due date. I said Dune date. It's a pun. It's a play on words.
I
I thought
gotcha.
it was funny.
It was hilarious.
Let's move on.
Fine, Frick.
I
Um,
thought it was good.
Look, thank you, Karina, for being
Yeah,
a
thank you.
Patreon supporter.
Yes.
We really appreciate you over there. You get the podcast early. We've
Mhm.
been recently coming out with the podcast on the studio channel live on Fridays at noon. We can't say that enough. Live on Fridays at noon.
Yeah,
Live on Fridays at noon at the studio channel.
A studio channel.
but you
Yes.
get it on Monday morning at 7.
On Monday morning at 7 a.m., a full 5 days early if you're over there on Patreon. So yeah, and that's what Karina gets to enjoy. She also gets exclusive access to pre-shows. She also gets a bunch of other stuff that we do, including a whole catalog. So go
Yeah.
check out Patreon. The link's in the description, and choose the tier that best fits your content needs. We'd love to have you over there. We'd love to see you and shout your name out, during the podcast, and appreciate you for being over there on Patreon, just like Karina is. So thank you. We love you. And that's all she wrote, I guess.
Mhm. Okay.
I was hoping somebody would have some filler.
Bro, I'm waiting for you to like come in with something clever to introduce. Like,
to introduce the next topic.
yeah.
I
was leaving some space for you. Leaving space. That's what I was doing.
Here we go. I'm finally had it with these. You guys, both of you stealing my style. I know
What are you
why
talking
it's
about?
like, oh, it's a t-shirt style. You can't. I'm just copying a t-shirt style because you can't say that your style is just t-shirts and that
It's not a style. Yeah, you can't
taking
claim
it.
t-shirts.
No, I'm claiming it. I'm
Nope.
tired of you two fools stealing my stuff.
I would
What are
say
you talking about?
your style revolves more around it revolves less around your t-shirt and more around your pants, shoes, and hat. That's where you stylize the most. You
just
you
don't
throw
want
on
to. Okay.
we all do the same thing. We all throw on a t-shirt and then we stylize around our pants, shoes, and hats.
Okay. Well, Post Malone's taken my jorts style because I've been wearing the jorts for a while
Hey,
now.
Post Malone can take
Post
whatever he
Malone
wants.
is taking
Mhm.
Don't
my.
you say a bad thing about Post Malone.
Don't you say a bad thing.
Don't you think no bad stuff?
He's going on
Mm-mm-mm.
stage and
You
stealing
apologize,
my
Post Malone.
jorts. I mean, let me stand up real quick. Look, I'm
Show us
wearing
the cutoffs.
the jorts right now. Well, I can't get up that high, but
Look at that.
You have been wearing the jorts for a while, and
because
he
it's my
hasn't.
style, and he's starting now.
Again,
And so
your
I'm
hats,
taking it
hats,
back to
pants, and
before.
shoes. Hats, pants, and shoes. That's
Well-
where you stylize most. So you can't be like, oh, the shirt.
Who
See,
was
if you were
that?
wearing interesting shirts, like you were saying earlier, graphic tees or specific kinds of hoodies, or maybe even if you went with the t-shirts that have like the button up here,
Mhm.
if that's like all you wore and we started wearing those, yeah, then we're stealing your style. But you can't claim regular t-shirts.
Just plain old t-shirts.
If I bought
been
that
doing this for a
Adidas,
long time now.
Adidas hat and started wearing that Adidas hat, yeah, now I'm stealing your style.
What
Right.
I'm complaining about is
Also, you don't wear backwards hats. I do.
No, I don't do the backwards hat thing. Wyatt went to Maranatha, and then he comes back, and I said, "Hey, you're wearing my shirt," and he's like, "No, I bought a pack of t-shirts, the same brand with the pocket. So he literally bought the same pack of t-shirts that I have. That
Sorry.
so our shirts are mixing up now,
You mixing up your shirts?
It's okay.
Do you guys wear the same size?
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
like
medium.
large. Oh, you wear mediums? I large, They shrink up a little bit
Yeah.
in
So you're
wash.
not wearing the same size, so you're fine. But no, I don't go with the pockets. And also I'd like to have more graphic tees, but I think the most annoying thing about graphic tees is that you have to buy them
Individual.
individually
Yes.
and then
I feel like
you're
that's got to
stuck
be
with it.
wrong. You could get a pack of graphic tees, right?
There's probably like
Maybe.
subscription services.
Online?
I'm almost
You
100%
could
sure
almost
I've seen
definitely
this
get a pack of
before,
graphic tees online.
where I've looked into, you can buy like subscription service where once a month they send you like a bundle of graphic tees that of style that you like, and they'll just get you like vintage graphic tees, but it's kind of
I
expensive.
might. Oh, it's
Is that
expensive.
a real
I would love
service?
to do
No,
that.
that's a real service. You know how like
Oh,
you can do the bespoke post, or
yeah.
those boxes that they send you stuff once a month, and like it's it's stuff you would enjoy. They have that service for like graphic tees. You say like, "Hey, I like, vintage cars." So they send you like vintage car graphic tees, and
Yeah.
they get them like once a
But the
month.
thing is, like, most graphic T-shirts, I hate the way like, the fit of the shirt itself.
Okay.
The
I
shirt
can see
fit
that.
is terrible. And
Yeah.
honestly, what I need is because almost every time I'm not a tall person, but almost every time a shirt hikes up and, like, as I wash it twice, it becomes short,
Mm.
and then, like, it's showing off my butt crack, and it's showing off my underbelly, and it's, like, a large
Mhm.
shirt. Why does it
Mhm.
shrink vertically? Like, why is it
Yeah.
become smaller? It doesn't feel too tight. There's just all kinds of problems with the way that these and maybe they just use cheap T-shirts. These
So you're saying
nose
a service that makes graphic tees where you send them the kind of shirts that you want. Like I want these Hanes medium t-shirts with a graphic design right here that avoids the pocket or maybe
Right,
overlaps with the pocket or maybe there's no pocket at all and
right. I
Mhm.
don't go
you
pocket.
send your t-shirts to them, they professionally put the graphic on there and send it
Ooh.
back.
Maybe this is something we should do. Get in contact with like Jackson and be like, "Hey, we're gonna start a graphic tee business. We're gonna design a bunch of graphic tees, make them in packs, so people can buy like a pack of 5 for,
It's been a while
$25."
since we did the podcast. Do they prioritize quality or do they prioritize, mass producing
Quantity.
over there at
I feel
his
like I feel like if we worked with them, we could do it either way. We could do mass or we could do quality. We just have
Well,
to get
I want quality for myself, that's what we're doing, right?
yeah.
Yes.
For us, so we're creating a contract for our personal use?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We got to talk about this afterwards.
We
Um,
definitely should. This feels like we got something here.
yeah,
I
let's
think
move into this next topic.
alright, here we go. What is this?
So this is I'm sure you viewers who are familiar with the video games and video game worlds, if you've played Elden Ring or any kind of Souls like game, you're familiar with what's his YouTube name? Vati Vidya.
Sure.
You're familiar with Vati Vidya. He makes breakdowns um of video game stuff
Mhm.
and of like FromSoft, like Elden Ring and Armored Core and Dark Souls, and which are big games where the storyline is often a little bit convoluted because they're open world, they're large games, and
Right.
he takes those storylines and makes it palpable, like consumable for everybody, so
So he
that you can
actually
follow.
is telling the story.
He's
He's telling the story.
does so with scenes and gameplay from the games and clever editing, and it's cinematic. It's very
Okay.
cinematic. This screenshot here, he had professional artists um, do all this. So the opening for this video, which is
Okay. Let me go play the opening for the video. So this right here.
yeah,
Ah, cool.
don't play too much of it,
Yeah.
but he had artists do all this
Yeah.
um, to just kind of add a little bit of something for to help expand the lore in your mind,
Mm-hmm. And
which
it's
is
effective. It's
it's
effective.
effective, and the art is really good. Uh,
Yeah.
and 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 then he goes from this art into gameplay. And the thing about Elden Ring is it looks so good that you can take shots from the game like this and just he's editing them together and making it cinematic, which is
So
so cool.
he literally makes composition with the gameplay.
Hmm.
So as two characters are talking and telling the story and having dialogue between each other, he's doing like the over the shoulder cuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Utilizing the
And
game and actually creating composition from
yeah,
inside the game.
creating the story that you want that the player experiences,
Mhm.
but that a viewer maybe doesn't get to see as much of. And um, I wanted to talk about this because I saw that this specific video came out very recently. Let's see, when did it drop? Uh, It dropped 6 days ago, and it
Okay.
has 1.2 million views, and it's
Very
an
good.
hour long. It's an hour-long video, and he
Yes.
does this consistently. He does this consistently. He drops longer videos that are consistently getting these large amounts of views, and
Mhm.
I think there's a good reason. He's putting a lot of time and effort into this, and this one specifically is following your view of the um, adventure through the Elden Ring world and following a specific storyline where you meet the character Blaze and you like do all the steps on that specific storyline in this open world game, and he makes it emotional.
Mhm. 'Cause he's
Like it's
crafting a story.
yeah,
Mhm.
because you know what happens with this character and your character is interesting. You go
Mhm.
from being strangers to friends
To
and
lovers.
well, not quite
Oh.
lovers, but you
No.
fight
Yeah.
together, you battle together. Um, then eventually you, the player, kind of take his place as the character Ronnie. You kind of take
That's cool.
his place
Yeah, it's
as
really
her.
cool.
And this is from the game. This is
Yeah.
you take his place as her like guardian
Mhm.
and consort essentially, even though he's been with her his whole life
Right.
as her protector and guardian. And it's the way that this is edited. Uh, if you wanted to play a little bit from the video of uh, just
What part? Any part?
any part like that, play that. So this is an actual boss fight from the video game. Um, these are all moves that you do in the video game, all
Mhm.
things that happen, and it's just he's editing it together to make the battle look like a real battle that's happening,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and but it's just all in game. And I was watching it and I was like, this is I was it's an hour long video, so I clicked on it and I was like, well, I can't sit here and watch this. But as I was watching, I was like, wow, this editing is so clever.
Yeah.
It's so well done. What did you think, Joe? I know you watched a little bit of it.
You know, at first I was thinking because I'm not a big gamer, and so I didn't watch. I skipped to the end and heard his explanation of the
Hmm.
situation, and from what I gathered, it was like this is actual stories from Elden Ring, because I know there's a lot of storylines inside that game.
Hmm.
and so he's just showing you without any distractions what that specific story is. And when I first started playing it and then I saw the gameplay aspect of it, I was like, "Oh, sick. He's creating stories and using Elden Ring to tell a story, right?" Then I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh no, he's helping people understand the stories that already
The story
exist."
that's already there.
Um, and some of these stories were crafted by, R.R. Martin, right? Because he
Mhm.
helped out with the
Mhm.
writing of these stories. So,
But yeah, if you pay attention in the game, all of the main like boss characters, their names start with a G, an R, or an M. Um, and um, yeah, if you go back to the slides, I think it's what he's doing with uh taking these like following this character and kind of his storyline as it devolves into they get manipulated, they turn against each other, and eventually you have to fight this character who you've fought alongside.
hmm
uh it's I don't know, the video game tells the story but they don't tell the story,
Mhm.
you know. And so this idea of breaking it down, making it not only consumable for the audience, which is what he's doing. He's making it consumable for the audience. He's making it visually pleasing as well. If you go to the next slide, this slide in particular, where you stab the wolf, this is in the fight.
hmm
This scene is what an excellent shot from
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
fight of this friend that you have to put down.
Right.
I mean, I was like, how is this so emotionally impactful? And I've only watched a little bit of this thing. He's making it not just consumable, but visually pleasing, and um, you know, allowing the audience to take in the emotional impact that the writers of the story wanted you to take away from it.
So
So,
my question is, so this is something he's doing for YouTube. He's putting a lot of effort into
mhm.
this. I think my biggest question is, I kind of assume people are already doing this, like all over the place on YouTube, breaking down storylines for video
Yeah,
games and explaining
and
it or showing it to people.
I'm sure they are, but the reason I bring this guy up is because he is doing it with a level of professionalism and consistent success
hmm
that makes me wonder about the future of storytelling. We've already seen big cinematic video games like the new God of War series is
Mm.
taking the cinematics of the video game and the adventure of the video game to a different level so
Yeah.
that you can appreciate not only the fighting and everything but also the visual story. um, I'm just curious about you guys' opinion. What do you think of um, using the visual medium and making kind of almost making a story out of a story that already exists with what like kind of like what he's doing on
Yeah.
YouTube? Do you see this happening more often, or do you see the people who make the video games getting better at incorporating this?
I mean, personally, I look at this and my mind starts going about what are creative opportunities for people who are just good storytellers.
Hmm.
In the same way that you can customize a video game laid out to you by the creators of the video game, you can choose to be a specific character. You can choose to a specific fight, a specific route, a specific storyline. There's a lot of specifics that a game can create. But in some ways, with this, he almost has to be very intentional and craft and plan and try to finagle to tell the visual cinematic story that he's telling here,
Hmm.
Because although he's telling the game story, he's telling it in his own way at his own speed. and so he has to kind of make the game work for him. What I'm more interested in is creating millions of different types of characters and then creating hundreds of different spaces and scenarios and then saying kind of like a game world with cinematics and then telling creative storytellers have at it and they can enter
Mhm.
this virtual world and place characters and have them do
Yeah,
things and
so that
tell
was my
their own
next
story,
question.
you know?
That was my next question. What does the future look like for this? How do we? Because people have been doing this for a long time, taking the cinematics from a video game and making a story. Do you guys know
Yeah.
what Red versus Blue is?
I've heard of it, but I don't
Yeah,
know the
that sounds
details around
familiar.
it, what that is.
It was based on the Halo video games where they got into like the 2v2s and started writing dialogue for these characters and walking around as them, and they were just recording it all.
Mhm.
And so they created this narrative, and then eventually they were able to start editing things and creating new stuff. But it's interesting what people can take, especially with video games, because you can control these characters.
Right.
Um, and what can you do in an interesting way with them?
Right. And I think in a lot of ways that's going to be because there's also the element of I think what we can expect is like or what someone if they my brain's going a million miles an hour right now. What would be cool is if you could essentially create a world like I just laid out, like a video
Hmm.
game, have characters that you say, I want a guy with a wolf head, or I want a lion that has dragon wings, you know what I mean? Or I just want two knights, you know? And you tell the story and the things that's missing from video games, which is like lens depth, you know? Or saying like we here's our palette and here's like a cinematic realistic animation style. Why don't you flip it to be like animation style of what you might see from Spider-Verse, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or flip it and it becomes 2D animation, you know what I mean? Like almost turning on a switch to choose your animation style, flip on a switch and like you can change the environment. You can kind of control a little bit lighting that's an environment. So
Hmm.
basically, it's like it's kind of what 3D animators do to create these 3D movies, but it's all there for creative storytellers so that they can easily like almost like a video game set up their scene virtually and then get your shots and get your characters to say certain things where literally like if you had a
Yeah,
microphone you like the
it's
character's
almost
gonna
like what they
say
did with it's
this.
like what they did with Surf's Up. It's like create a
Yeah,
Yeah.
virtual landscape and then film.
but it does but make it user friendly, like where someone
Hmm.
can just go onto the game, I guess, in a way, and they can choose what environment they want. They can choose if it's night or day. They can choose if they're inside a building in a specific environment and where the moonlight's coming into the building, those kind of things.
Yeah,
Um, and then choose your characters that are already built up, and then you build meaning around these characters. And
It it
and what
almost
I was
feels
saying with lens depth is important too. Like if you say we're gonna put a 50 millimeter lens, so when you get closer, it creates more depth in the background, that kind of thing, you know?
yeah,
it
That
almost
kind of
feels
stuff.
like kind of the vision uh with a video game or like an animated world.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's it's like a video game that's meant to be telling a cinematic story for production, you know?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
You
if you
don't
take
have
video
to. You
game and
just
production and mix them together.
design a whole bunch of really good 3D models.
Mhm.
Design a really large, interesting world that can be manipulated and animated to your, like in Unreal or something, to your
Mhm.
specifications, and then and then it's like ready, set, go. You get, and people are already doing
Say
it kind of
animate.
in like Unreal and stuff, but um yeah, to be able to get in there and just like control exactly what the character does. And
Yeah.
I think with AI helping to fill in some of the gaps of like, designing character, little quirks and things like the way that like somebody might fidget or whatever, and being able to uh put things like, if you have somebody fidget right with their
Mhm.
fingers, you don't want to be doing it all the time. You want them to be doing it
Right.
randomly.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is definitely gonna become a thing. I just think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes because imagine, especially with Hollywood, we've been talking about how Hollywood is they're losing compared to what individuals, the indie market can create. If there was a
Yeah.
tool like this, animation, I mean, Disney, Pixar, everybody would be out of business because if you had an open game world and then customizable aspects to it, all of a sudden imagine we're gonna get so many Rebel Moon, what we're about to see
Hmm.
with Zack Schneider. Imagine that, except instead of using real real actors, they're just animated characters, but the movie itself can be done inside, like the story and the cinematics and everything can be done
Yeah.
in there. Like what we see with Arcane. Imagine if you did
Hmm.
Arcane, you could just do that inside of a virtual world that's set up to tell your story like that. And you don't have to be the one who designs it from the ground up. It's kind of already there for you to just shift and customize things as needed, but nothing too dramatic. So, like, people are already doing it with games, like we saw here, whether they're telling their own story or telling the
Hmm.
game story. Just give another layer of element of control and create the world is not about necessarily gameplay, but rather for the sake of but rather play for the sake of telling a story. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think filmmakers, for one, editors and cinematographers would dive into that so fast and would enter the gamer world so quickly. Like I'm not a gamer, but I am
Hmm.
a cinematographer and I am an editor, and I would love to mess with that because I could literally create the most beautiful things ever in a world that's customized like that. It would be so much fun. My goodness,
That
that would
would
be
be
fun.
fun. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
all I have for this.
Okay.
I think it's gonna screw up Hollywood a lot more, and especially as this becomes more mainstream. But what the dude did is smart and it's brilliant. I just want to see like version 20 of this. You know,
Uh-huh.
that's what I want to see.
Ready for the next gen.
Yeah, that's what I'm ready to see, and I'm ready to see it on a big scale so we can see all different types of
Because
worlds.
I mean, we've
You
talked
know,
about it before, of merging like storytelling and video games, and how Elden Ring has done that, and other games have done that. But like, when does it stop becoming merging storytelling and video games, so that people who play video games get to experience this story, and
right,
merging storytelling and a video game like thing where you don't have to play the video game.
right,
You
right.
can just
I
watch my
think,
story.
yeah. I think it's all very exciting, and I think it's going to open up a beautiful, fun world that I'm
Mm.
ready to dive into personally. I think it'd be awesome. I think it's going to be so much fun. I want to actually jump into this though because I've been waiting to talk with you guys about this, and you brought it up.
So
Yeah.
I have
What
not seen it. Did you watch it, Wyatt?
I haven't watched it. I
Josie,
you guys
did you
haven't
haven't
watch
watched
watched
it.
it?
I
it?
haven't
Mhm.
watched it because because it came out recently, and uh I've been very busy since it came out.
All right, so we're
So
talking about the Netflix documentary, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp
yeah,
trial.
this is like
Okay,
it's a mini series. It's like 3 episodes, right?
Yeah.
I think it's 4 episodes.
What did you
Okay.
want to talk about this? Because this is
Um. So I first of all, Joe's watched it.
mhm.
Yep.
What were your thoughts, Joe, on how they portrayed this trial?
Uh, So here the main thing is I think the approach of the documentary filmmakers, or at least the storytellers of this trial, it's not like they were saying poor Amber, but they were definitely wanting the end result to be Amber did wrong, but also Johnny Depp did wrong too. Let's not forget
Mhm.
that. You know what I mean? Um, and I think if we actually look at this scenario, Amber Heard, and the documentary shows this, she lied constantly, proven that
Mhm.
she lied. It was proven that Johnny Depp did some dark things during the relationship, especially through text message form. He said some really dark things,
Mhm.
but it was ultimately proven that he didn't. Like, it was disproven that he was violent, and it was proven that she was. And I
Yeah.
think that is the biggest thing. They spend a lot of time on the fact that the entire world was pro Johnny and against Amber. And I think that's
Mhm.
why the documentary almost would bait and switch you in a way. So it would be like they would get on this train
Okay.
and show all these creators that were following it online and doing their YouTube channels and stuff. And then they would cross shoot it with people watching on their phone, like brushing their teeth. And I was like, that's me. I was like literally at a hotel on a trip. I was getting
Yeah.
ready to work the next morning and I'm watching Johnny Depp and Amber on trial, like getting ready in the morning, brushing my teeth on my phone. And they would be like, yeah, and Amber Heard, like, she said this crazy stuff and she's the one that abused it. And it's like, yeah, this is what we were all thinking in the moment. And it's like very validating. And then then they do like that switcheroo thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Where it's like, but it's actually Johnny Depp was found that he was doing something and this, and here's the evidence for it. And you're like,
Mhm.
dang it. So what you're saying, what you're trying to do is to make me feel bad that I was
Right.
on Johnny Depp's team
Inside.
at
And
that moment
and
when Amber Heard was
and
being that way.
I think they did it that way because Johnny Depp won the case.
Mhm.
And so Netflix can't necessarily be biased. They
Yeah.
have to be like, um, here's why you don't need to feel good about being happy for him that he won the case. And I get why they're doing that, but uh and I'm sure there was a lot of issues, more issues in this relationship than perhaps we know, but
Mhm.
his legal team kind of you know proved that he was not in the wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
um
I think the real question I want to know, because I didn't watch the documentary, Joseph. Um, did she do cocaine on the stand? Did she have cocaine in that tissue?
Actually, you know what? They didn't they didn't like they only so that it was edited in an interesting way, this documentary, because
Yeah.
most of it is, it's not necessarily all like new footage and exclusive interviews that Netflix got. They took everything that was out there already and edited it together in this
Mhm.
story. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Yeah.
So they did, like, there was moments where they would show like the internet's response to something that happened during the trial and
Yeah.
all the memes and everything. People like uploading their TikToks mocking Amber or whatever. And there was a moment that I think they showed a meme or something of her wiping her nose and alluding to the cocaine, but they didn't spend any time on that.
Well,
Yeah.
Really.
it's interesting about how they're kind of making it about both of them and how wrong both of them are. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
think they did that because they didn't want to feel bad about making this documentary and making a bunch of money off of them, off
Mhm.
of because that was a lot of the controversy was like, look how much press this is getting. Look how much
Yeah.
support Johnny Depp is getting. Look how much hate she is getting. Now Netflix goes and continues to put eyes on the story.
Mhm.
And they're like, how do we alleviate the um, continuous publicity of this subject and the fact that we are planning on making money off of it?
Right.
Well, we make it sort of unbiased so that we don't
Sort
feel
of.
as bad.
It was so incredibly pro Johnny Depp in culture and anti Amber
Yeah.
Heard
Yeah, you can't
because
ignore it.
it doesn't ignore that, but in some ways it actually kind of makes you, it kind of like, especially towards the end, it starts to be like, and if you were pro Johnny Depp 100% and just 100% anti Amber Heard, like, you're the butthole. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
And
it
I
kind of makes you feel that way, you know?
they have to put that out there so that they don't sound
They don't
misogynistic or
sound
biased or
right,
whatever.
right.
Mm.
But they actually spent a good bit of time trying to clear her name about the whole money that she was donating to, you know, how the initial divorce settlement of something I think was like $3 million,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And she said that she donated it to some childhood hospital, I believe, or childhood home or child's home or something. And then it was shown in the case that she hadn't given any of that to them, or had given like a total of like 20,000 or something to them.
Yeah.
It and it wasn't even close to the amount that she had that she basically on the stand kept saying she pledged it, and they were like, "But you haven't donated it yet." And she was
Mhm.
like, "I have pledged this amount of money. I have donated this amount of money." And they're like, it's different. There's a difference between pledge and donate." And
Yeah.
then Netflix went on this whole sidebar to kind of show that when people who donate a lot of money in increments over the course of like a certain amount of years, like they refer to it as a pledge and it's considered donated, but it's not all donated in one lump sum. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like they went on this long sidebar to try to prove like, well, Amber Heard actually is giving all this money away when in on the stand she was lying essentially by saying that she
Mhm.
gave the money away and she hadn't yet. And they were trying to say, oh, she has, if she pledges it, it's considered and she's going to give it away over like the next 10 years in small increments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So would you mind pulling up the IMDb real quick? I
All
just
right.
wanted to make a note, one note or two. Not a ton of information here on the
Mm-hmm.
IMDb. There's, cast. I love cast. Amber Heard self, Johnny Depp self, Nick Viall self. But going down, I think there's a review, at least one review that's like, um, oh, also the did you know referenced connections referenced in Friday Night Tights. On I love that pops up here on IMDb.
DC is still dumb. Lucasfilm
Yeah,
failing. What is this for? What is the did you know part?
that's the title. Yeah, I don't know. It's like here's facts about this. It showed up on famous internet show Friday Night Tights.
I
Um,
gotta, okay. That's very interesting.
it's got everybody.
Yeah. What? They have
Comics
IMDb
division.
pages?
Oh man, that's funny.
All right, let me go back to this. Um,
Um,
so
yeah, and
the
then
reviews right here, is this what you're talking about?
yeah, why was this even made? Don't waste your
Watching
time
this
watching
garbage.
this garbage. Why is this featured here on IMDb? Um,
I don't know. Like this comment specifically,
I
3
just
out of
thought I
10?
when I went and looked at the IMDb for this, because I know a lot of people watched this miniseries, and I started scrolling down, I was like, why is it connecting us to Friday Night Tights? Why are these reviews, the featured reviews here, the negative reviews isn't IMDb supposed to kind of fluff up the thing a little bit?
A little bit.
Or is culture kind of breaking through here on this IMDb page?
I will say this is
What
a
do you
true
think, Josh?
statement.
So it probably, in what I'm just thinking is there was so much hate on what Joseph was saying is like them being trying to make it even where they were making Amber Heard pro Amber Heard a little bit so
Hmm.
that it didn't seem so off-sided with Johnny and Amber Heard type thing, that they had no content because that's probably the only stuff they got was just so much this is garbage because Johnny's in the right here.
Look,
And
yeah,
so
yeah. This is a
what
very true statement. Let me read this real quick because I do agree with this. Worst of all, it disrespects the professionalism of the judge and jury who gave their time and insulting to
Insulting.
anyone who watched the entire trial and made up their own minds by insinuating the verdict went one way. It did because we were all under the sway of a movie star and social media. Everyone knows justice got served in the case, completely unconvincing rubbish, and the guise of a documentary. I think that's correct because the way it's edited and put together is to basically make you say like it kind of went one way because it's Johnny Depp and everyone loves Johnny Depp and no
So
one likes Amber. You know
so
what I mean?
Josh is saying that the distaste of kind of um, Netflix's opinion, or the documentary maker's opinion, is the distaste is shining through for what they made and how they portrayed it, and the fact that they are um, attempting to make money from something like this.
Right.
Also, how much money did this make?
I mean, it's on Netflix, so in theory,
yeah.
did
We don't
people
know.
become a Netflix subscriber because of this?
Yeah,
I don't know.
we don't know how much money this made. And
Mhm.
so, they can talk all they want, I think, about like uh how like televised and dramatized this subject
This
matter
trial
was.
was
Yeah, this
Right.
trial was. And then,
so
they
much.
proceed to continue making money from it.
Right. And that's a good point actually. I don't really know that I think that's the big problem we have. Not that the subscription model is wrong,
Hmm.
but internally you have to decide if something's worth it or not. And so if you have an agenda or you have a specific like money making opportunity you want to try to get at, or a political agenda you're trying to get at, that with the current subscription model of entertainment, it doesn't you most a lot of times you don't get a chance to give the public the option to support it or not support it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying. So with something like this that comes out on Netflix, we're like, it's a fine documentary. I'd probably give it like I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10 just because of the cleverness of how everything was edited and summarizes what was going on. However, the end result is kind of talking down to people, you know? And
Yeah.
and so and you don't, like you said, you don't know if they made money off this. And it's the same thing we have with Rings of Power. Amazon doesn't make money from Prime Video, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
They make money from ordering from people doing e-commerce. And so they can just keep taking e-commerce money and making garbage. And and so there's no longer the demand of the audience on if stuff gets made or not, or the direction of content even.
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't know
Agreed.
where I was going with that, but I feel like it applies to this in some fashion.
Hmm.
It's definitely not speaking for the audience here, this documentary.
Yeah. Which I
It's
think
talking down to the
and
audience.
you know what? I feel like documentaries often don't speak for the audience, and I think maybe they should. Maybe we'll make a documentary that speaks for the audience.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
we can. Oh, you know, it would be awesome if all the Friday Night Tights people or everybody who kind of has a similar view of Hollywood, just the anti-Hollywood crap culture on YouTube, all these creators got together and assisted in creating like a 10-part documentary on how terrible Hollywood and the deterioration of Hollywood the
Hmm.
past 20
And
years.
a lot of those people are folks who have been involved in Hollywood, involved in
Yeah.
TV and movies and comic books and things, and
And
have
oh, wouldn't it be
experienced a
awesome?
lot of it, a lot of the
Wouldn't it
bad
be
stuff.
it would be so incredible if literally just a online large group of ragtag creators just created the ultimate smash hit rampage
On
against
Hollywood?
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah,
documentary, that'd be so awesome. Because it's
I'm
like the
down for
people
that.
are fighting back and it's not controlled by Hollywood, you know what I mean?
I am down for
Maybe
that.
I mean this would be the time to put it out with all the
This
strikes
Yeah,
going on and
exactly.
stuff.
Dang,
Um,
maybe we need to reach out to people and start getting something made.
just get it moving.
Get it
Um,
going.
that's kind of all I had for the documentary.
Right.
I have one more segment. We don't have to do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
It's a
Let's
quick.
peek at it.
This is a
Oh,
quick, just a real quick improv
it's a
challenge.
quickie.
I
Okay.
wanted to give you guys.
An
I was
improv
trying to. I was
challenge.
I was padding for time just in case we were running, low on time at the end of the. Not running low, but we had a lot of extra time to fill at the end of the podcast.
Right.
Um, so I had a much larger game, but I'm going to condense it down, and
Okay.
we'll do it a pretty quick improv thing here.
Okay.
I picked this I Am Legend photo because we are going to do some alternate endings.
Okay.
I Am Legend
Ah.
has an alternate ending, so does a lot of movies. I would like you guys to pick one of your favorite movies
Mhm.
and give me an improv alternate ending for that movie that you think would be uh,
Oh.
satisfactory to the viewers.
Almost like a 30-second story,
Yes,
kinda,
almost
but
like a
alternate ending
30-second story,
version.
but an alternate
Okay.
ending.
Okay.
So
Mm.
pick your
30-second ultimate ending.
your favorite movie and give me what you believe would be a satisfactory alternate ending, or maybe a non-satisfactory alternate ending to that movie.
Interesting. Now
Give me a
my
minute
favorite
because I
movie
could do this for a while.
is kind of a part of a series. So I love one
I
of
almost
my
feel
favorite
like
thing is the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbeans. Then they did 4 and 5. And in my mind, I could come up with an end to 3 and then not create 4 and 5.
All
How
right,
would
so
that
give me
sound
it. Yeah, yeah. Create your alternate ending to number 3.
for Pirates, the series of Pirates?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have one to kick us off, Wyatt?
Yeah, yeah. You guys
yeah,
think
give
about
us one.
yours, and I'll tell the audience mine. So I was thinking about Hook. What would be a good alternate ending for Hook? Something interesting, but something also satisfying. And I was always kind of sad at the end of Hook because he goes back to the real world, and we're not really sure if it's a dream. And then Toodles obviously flies off into the distance, kind of confirming
Mhm.
everything. But um, I always thought it would almost be more fun if he went and got his family the same way that he went and got Wendy and the boys at the beginning of the Peter Pan movie
And took them to
and took
Neverland?
them. He does the same thing that he does in the beginning of Peter Pan is he comes into the window and he whisks them away with him.
Mm.
Um,
I just got chills all of a sudden.
yeah, of
Look at that. You can't see on the camera, but
and
I just got chills for some reason.
it's the same sort of ending. You see him and the kids and Moira and Wendy and Toodles, and they're all flying off second star to the right straight onto morning.
Heck yeah. That'd
Yeah.
be
That
pretty
would
fun.
be that would be fun to me, and they see him as Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Um, and they know that he's still that kid, but also he's their father and husband and friend.
Yeah, so the legend of Peter is strong at the end
Mhm.
still, you know?
Mhm.
That sounds beautiful.
That
Um,
is beautiful.
I can't make huge improvements on a couple things. So, I think at the end of At World's End, I think personally, I think Barbossa should have died.
Okay.
I think Barbossa should have died in a magnificent hero's or pirate hero's death,
Okay.
especially during that. In some ways, I almost would have loved to see Barbossa give his life for Will Turner, so that Will can become the Davy Jones he needs to become. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
dislike I dislike that Jack and Barbossa are still fighting over the Black Pearl at the end of At World's End, right?
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'd rather see Barbossa leave and he has a hero's exit. And it would be cool to kind of say he actually wanted to capture and kill Will in the first movie, but now at the end of the third, he gives his own life so that Will can find his own destiny, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And yeah, and for his character, it would make sense of being like, I've
right,
died before and I
right.
can do it again.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I
Or
think
even Barbossa taking on a curse.
that's true.
If
Even
Barbossa
Barbossa
even if
taking a curse,
Barbossa became Davy Jones,
that'd be kind
just
of
that
cool too.
dude, a line where he's like, "I've been cursed before,"
Right.
you
Yeah, that
know?
would be
Wow.
pretty sick. Now, I would say I with Elizabeth, her story, and Jack's story, I want Jack to almost be on the run and still have troubles relationally with people. I think that's true to his character. So with Elizabeth being the pirate king, I think she should have remained strong in the pirate king label
Hmm.
and almost like she needs to carry out, like, maybe they add something to the story where after the fight, after the carnage, that she almost had to basically carry out a disciplinary action to Jack for something, you know? And then Jack's on the run. So really it's more like Elizabeth and all the pirates that she's king over is now after Jack and the Black Pearl and his ragtag crew, you know
Ooh,
what I
that's
mean?
fun. Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
no, I
saying.
like
Instead
that.
of
He was
instead
on the
of
run
this
from the
weird.
British, and now he's on the run from the pirates.
Yeah, that's I
That's
think between
fun.
Elizabeth and Barbossa's story, they should have been fleshed out in a big way. And I think
Mhm.
that I love the idea of maybe him becoming Davy Jones or giving his life for the cause for Will's destiny. And I wanted they needed to make Elizabeth's story as
There
the
the
Pirate
end
King
is
a lot
yeah,
better.
because like the end is she's gonna execute uh Jack Sparrow, but Will as the captain of the Flying Dutchman saves him
Yeah,
again.
against his own wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Ooh,
pretty sick.
that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is fun.
I think that leads into a much better story for a
But the
fourth
thing is,
movie.
I don't think there needs to be another movie after
No,
that. I
there
think that
wouldn't
might
need to be
end it
another one.
perfectly. And the
Yeah.
cool thing is, the fact that Elizabeth remained in the pirate world means that she can see her husband more
Mm,
often instead
yes.
of this
Yeah.
weird every 10 years
Yeah.
thing, you know what I mean? That was totally unrealistic as far
Yeah,
as
they don't have to see each other every 10 years.
they can see each other as much as they want, he just can't
As
come on
much
land.
as they want.
Yes,
I
exactly.
never I never understood they could see each other as much as they wanted.
Mhm.
Except for when he's carrying out his duties to harbor
Right,
the souls
but how many times was Davy Jones coming up out of the water and
all the time,
talking to people and hanging out with people?
all the time.
Yeah.
But, whatever, man. That's my better ending. What's yours, Joshua?
I can't. I really, really like this, and I know we've talked about this off camera, but I honestly can't think of one right now, and I don't know if I want to because I know as soon as we end this podcast, I'm gonna be like, "This would have been a better thing
Well,
to
throw it
say."
out there
So
at
Just throw
least.
something out
I,
there.
I don't even know. I want to say like I was trying to think of like Goodwill Hunting, where
Mhm.
he said like I got to go see about a girl, but I'm like, I like that ending. He's going to see about the girl. That's a good ending. I can't do anything with that, and so I don't want to. There's definitely been I can't think of it, but there's definitely been we've talked about where someone almost passes the mantle on to somebody else where they haven't quite done it right in films that I know we've talked about before,
Mhm.
that I would like this, like the hero passes the mantle on, and there's a lot of movies that
All right,
haven't quite
So
done it
basically, you
right.
have nothing.
let me get
I
more
got nothing for
specific.
you. I got nothing for you because there's
You
so
have to
much
give me
I
an
can do.
alternate ending to Ready Player One.
Yeah.
You have to.
Okay,
Just
the
do it.
Ready Player
You
One.
have to give me an alternate ending. So the real ending is the bad guy gets thrown in jail. They win the corporation,
Oasis.
the Oasis,
Yeah.
and they shut it down on like Thursdays and Fridays or something. And that's the end, and everybody's happy, and we all know what happens. Give me an alternate ending. It doesn't have to be bad, just alternate.
Different.
Alternate. I think, they win the game, but they don't get the rights or the, it has to be like they don't get the rights to the oasis. They almost it almost becomes, I don't know. It almost becomes
free to the public.
You love it too much.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah, I
change it.
can't change it. I can't change it. I got nothing for you.
I could see.
I know I've got stuff, but there's so much I want to. I can't.
I could see it becoming free to the public and ending with, instead of them being in charge, we're just, once again, we're kind of like back to our group. We're just what we always wanted to be, is just cogs, small cogs in this big thing. We just want to be our group of Easter egg hunters and players and adventurers. I could see that happening too, where they get to be just another group of people playing the game. They get to play the game.
Yeah, get to keep playing the game. Now,
I mean, there is, if you read the books, there's a Ready Player 2 where they show kind of after the fact of the game, and it's a little different, but than the movie. But we're talking about movies.
I want to give the audience some, as we kind of end, I want to give the audience some homework. Speaking of endings, there's one. It's not the best ending in the world, but it's a brilliant ending. If you haven't watched The Fabelmans yet, watch the ending. Yes. Watch The Fabelmans.
We need to watch it
and pay attention to the ending, because the ending of that whole end scene and then the end shot is just so good. It just speaks so well and complements the movie as a whole so well. Watch the end of The Fabelmans as some homework, just to watch a good movie and to enjoy the way it ends. I think it's just some homework for you. I think you'll enjoy it, and you'll definitely enjoy it, Wyatt. You ought to watch the movie. You ought to.